The disappearance of Kristin Smart. Kristin Denise Smart was born on February 20, 1977, in Augsburg, Germany. Kristin attended Lincoln High School in Stockton, California. She was a good student who got good grades, had a vibrant personality, and many friends. On June 8, 1995, Kristin graduated high school and was accepted to California Polytechnic State University in San Luis Obispo, best known for its programs in agriculture, architecture, and engineering. Kristin's family and friends all say she was a dreamer, a girl who would give her family bear hugs. She loved poetry, the ocean, and traveling. Kristin and her family were close, especially Kristin and her mother. In fact, they had such a close relationship that she would call her mother every week while at college. May 24, 1996, Memorial Day weekend. Many students went home to their families. However, Kristin stayed on campus with a few friends, who had all planned to go to a party. After 5:30 p.m., Kristin left a message on her mother's phone, telling her how happy she was, that she was allowed to make up a biology test that was somehow lost earlier in the year. Around 8:30 p.m., Kristin and her three friends started walking from their dorms in Poly Hill. Not far into their walk, a friend driving a pickup truck picked them up. Kristin climbed into the cab and the others got into the back. They drove around for 2 hours in search of a party when finally, Kristin suggested they go to 135 Crandall Way, a fraternity house near campus. Her friends made it clear that they did not want to attend the party, due to the bad reputation the fraternity house had. Kristin still wanted to go to the party even though she would be alone. Her friends dropped her off a couple of blocks away from the party at about 10:30 p.m. and then went home. Kristin had not been drinking prior to the party, so her friends weren't too worried about dropping her off. Her friend said the last thing she said to Kristin was, "You better be careful." Kristin was very independent and insisted that she would be fine by herself. They never knew that would be the last time they would ever see Kristin again. When Kristin arrived at the party, she was the center of attention. Many people claim that she was acting like she was on something and definitely seemed to be drunk as the night progressed. Witnesses also claimed that Kristin was seen kissing one man, and that she even pulled a random party-goer into the bathroom with her and repeatedly asked if she was ugly while looking in the mirror. One of the people throwing the party had stated that he saw Kristin at about 2 a.m. laying on the next-door neighbor's lawn. He then woke her up and tried to get her warm as she repeated that she was cold. Her demeanor was described as weird by many of the other partiers. She had even used a fake name the entire time she was at the party. Kristin told everyone she met that her name was Roxy. The Crandall Way house is a 10-minute walk from where Kristin's dorm was. However, she was in no shape to make the walk without help. One of the party planners, Tim Davis, and a girl who lived in the dorms near Kristin, Cheryl Anderson, said she would join them. As they set out for the walk back to their dorms, another partygoer named Paul Flores appeared and asked if he could join them as well. They found it odd but let him join them anyways. Paul Flores was described as creepy by many people, especially women, who would jokingly call him Chester the Molester. Many claimed Flores had seemed very quiet at the party and that he did not talk to a lot of people and just played pool most of the night. He came across one confrontation when he had hit on a girl who was with her boyfriend. He was asked to leave but somehow managed to stay. Paul started walking with the others back to their dorms. Cheryl noted that during the whole walk, Paul had his arms around Kristin. When they had reached the intersection of Perimeter Road and Grand Avenue, Cheryl asked Paul if he could walk Kristin to her dorm. Cheryl's dorm was half a block south down Grand Avenue, Santa Lucia, and Paul's hall was up Perimeter Road. Just behind it was Muir Hall, where Kristin lived. Paul agreed and then proceeded to ask Cheryl for a kiss, to which she replied no. He then promised to walk Kristin to her dorm, and Cheryl and the two parted ways. Cheryl claims that she looked back and saw Kristin with Paul's arm still around her walking slowly up Perimeter Road, Kristin's dorms in view. Kristin hadn't been seen for 2 days. She never returned to her dorm. A friend of Kristin's tried to file a missing person report. However, the campus police declined at first, claiming that she could just be on vacation because it was Memorial Day weekend. It was only when she persisted calling both Kristin's parents and the San Luis Obispo Police Department that campus police opened a file. On May 30, 1996, the campus was investigated. A full search was done for any clues to where Kristin might be. Police interviewed Paul Flores at their office and claimed that he was less than cooperative. The district attorney's investigators interviewed Paul at the Arroyo Grande Police Department. During the videotaped interview, Flores tells investigators that he lied when he previously stated he received a black eye playing basketball. He says he actually received the injury while working on his truck. Flores abruptly walked out of the interview before it concluded and said that he would not answer any more questions. June 29 through the 30th, just about 400 volunteers turn out for a massive campus search. They searched the landfill and brought in trained search dogs who were specifically trained to search for human remains. 4 dogs independently reacted to Paul's dorm room at Santa Lucia Hall. The dogs also reacted to his old mattress. On February 21, 1997, California Governor Pete Wilson offers a $75,000 reward for any information leading to an arrest and conviction in the case of Kristin Smart. Paul Flores has always been the main suspect in the case and refuses to cooperate. Authorities got a tip from a friend of Paul's who said he and Paul were watching the news about Kristin's disappearance. His friend jokingly asked him, "Come on, what did you do with her?" Paul then replied back, "She's with my parents." A search was done of the Flores' home. However, there were no cadaver dogs brought in, and they did not seem to search much of anything. They did find one thing that stuck out. There were saved newspaper clippings about Kristin and the investigation. They found it odd that his parents would save these clippings because Paul's name was not in any of them, and these newspaper clippings were just about the ongoing investigation. Paul told detectives during his interview that he couldn't stay long because he was helping his mother cement a driveway. This driveway was a rental property that Paul's mother Susan had owned. Susan had quickly rented out the property after her new cement work was done, to a woman and man by the name of Mary and Joe Lassiter. Not soon after Mary and Joe moved in, Mary was in her driveway when she noticed a shiny earring laying on the ground. When she picked it up, she had noticed that there was smeared blood on the back of the earring. She immediately handed the earring over to a detective whose name was never released. Mary and Joe started getting unfriendly and threatening mail. Some of the mail would say, "Please tell us where Kristin is, your son is guilty, he knows more than what he's saying." Mary knew that this mail was not for her, and that it was about the missing girl Kristin Smart, whom she only found out about while renting the home from the Flores after finding the earring. Mary claims that the cement work that was done on the driveway was weird. She said that an area in the corner of the driveway was suspicious to her because there was cement laid and then double cement over it, with a planter box on top of it. Mary was always creeped out by this area because every morning at 4:20 a.m., she would hear a watch alarm beeping coming from that spot. She searched the flower box to see if maybe someone had dropped their watch, but once she reached the cement under the dirt, she realized she wasn't able to retrieve it. The watch beeping finally stopped, likely from the watch dying. Mary and Joe cooperated with detectives and soon were evicted from the rental home by the Flores. Before moving out, Mary and Joe let detectives search as much as they could before their 30 days were up. The cadaver dogs hit on the corner of the home, where a garbage can once sat that had belonged to the Flores. Unfortunately, the Flores had taken the garbage can with them a few days after Mary and Joe had moved in. Police claimed the bloody earring was misplaced and never even tested to see if the blood had matched Kristin's. Once Mary and Joe moved out of the Branch Street rental, Susan moved right in and still resides there to this day. A random garage was built on top of where the cadaver dogs hit, and more cement and some sort of wiring were put down. Neither Susan or Ruben parked their car in this garage, so I built this garage. Why not move somewhere else where no one notices you? Why stay in a place where you are constantly harassed? Possibly because they are hiding something that they don't want to be found. February 5, 2020, the San Luis Obispo County Sheriff's Office finally announced that it has served search warrants for specific items of evidence at 4 separate locations in California and Washington in relation to the Kristin Smart case. Sheriffs, investigators, and FBI agents closed off the home of Susan Flores on Branch Street in Arroyo Grande. Investigators were seen taking photos inside and outside of the house. They carried bags and items out of the house, including a computer. Ruben and Susan Flores were both present at the search, according to an eyewitness. Ruben Flores was seen inside the house arguing with investigators. Denise Smart, Kristin's mother, said she had been recently told by the Federal Bureau of Investigation to be ready for a development that might bring closure to her 23-year nightmare. Denise said she was told by authorities, "Be ready. This is really going to be something you don't expect. We want to give you the support you need." Still, why hasn't the driveway been dug up by investigators? Maybe what they found was good enough. An anonymous tip was sent to a man who had been doing his own investigation on the case. The message stated officers didn't want to dig up the concrete driveway because they did not want to pay for the concrete repairs if nothing was found. The case still remains active, and detectives believe they are closer than ever to cracking the case. Sheriff Parkinson said in an interview, "I think some people are under the impression that a search warrant gets you everywhere, and it really doesn't. It is targeting something that you are articulating to a judge that it is there and it is relevant to the case." Sheriff Parkinson has also said today's technology plays a huge role in the investigation and what they found during the search. 2 trucks that belonged to members of the Flores family in 1996 were recently taken into evidence. 18 search warrants were executed. Detectives additionally submitted 37 items from the early days of the case for DNA testing, recovered 140 new items of evidence, and conducted 91 interviews. Kristin was declared legally dead in 2002. The only suspect is Paul Flores. People that know Paul say they are not surprised Paul is a suspect in this case. Paul has been described to be an alcoholic and has been in jail for DUIs. Police believe they are closer than ever before to finding out what happened to Kristin, and they know exactly who is responsible for the murder of Kristin Smart, and they finally have the technology and evidence to prove it. Will there ever be justice for Kristin Smart and her family? After years of searching and waiting for answers, have detectives finally got what they need to put Paul and possibly his parents behind bars? They can't tell us yet, but it will soon be brought to light. The podcast Your Own Backyard by Chris Lambert really brought attention back to this case that seemed to fade from the spotlight. If you haven't yet, be sure to check out the podcast Your Own Backyard by Chris Lambert. I will leave the link in the description box. He knows so much about this case, and there's a lot more details that I did not add in this video. Check it out if you want to know more about the Kristin Smart case and the investigation. As always, thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe.